Triple H has been leading WWE well since taking creative control of the Stanford-based company. His work alongside Nick Khan has been praised by many, and a former champion opened up about a major change made by the game. Tommaso Ciampa had a rough time transitioning from NXT to the WWE main roster. The Miz helped him get going, and the former NXT champion spoke about his experience, which he believes is quite different now. During a chat with the Battleground podcast, Ciampa talked about how transitioning from NXT to Raw or SmackDown has changed a lot under the leadership of WWE Chief Content Officer Triple H. I think we'll see a little less of that just because there's a lot more communication between the two brands now. I don't think that when Trick Williams comes up to Raw or SmackDown, he's not gonna be repackaged. They're gonna have to educate the crowd on who he is, but he's gonna give you the same Trick Williams you've been getting, Tommaso Ciampa said. H/T Wrestling ANC. The former NXT champion made it clear that things were tougher for NXT stars earlier, as most performers had to undergo character changes. However, things are different under the regime of Triple H, who tries to keep the same gimmick for stars and educate fans about it. Triple H and Shawn Michaels are helping WWE become more successful. Triple H moved from his role in NXT to become the Chief Content Officer of WWE. The move has allowed him greater freedom and a larger platform to work on. Meanwhile, Shawn Michaels has taken control of NXT, and he seems to be doing a fine job at handling the developmental brand. Fans have been enjoying the product, and many new superstars have been polished in 2024 to look like future megastars. Together, Triple H and Shawn Michaels have proven to be a great team once again. They were a menace on screen during their time in the ring, and their recent work behind the scenes has shown that they are among the best in the industry at what they do. The game has also allowed current main roster stars to return to their former gimmicks that made them successful. Tommaso Ciampa is working with Johnny Gargano as part of DIY on Raw. Meanwhile, the Viking Raiders returned as the War Raiders under the gimmick that made them popular in NXT. Former WWE champion Drew McIntyre sat down for an exclusive interview with a leading wrestling news outlet, where he candidly discussed the state of WWE and the transformative changes spearheaded by Triple H since assuming more creative control. The Scottish Warrior has always been open with his thoughts, but this particular conversation was marked by his striking observations about how WWE's programming and philosophy have evolved. Setting the scene. It had been just over a year since Triple H had taken the reins from Vince McMahon in the creative department, and the shift was palpable not only to fans, but also to those in the locker room. Triple H's time as both a performer and executive within WWE had given him an intimate understanding of the business from multiple perspectives, and many had wondered what kind of product he would mold in his image. McIntyre leaned back in his chair, a faint smile forming as he recalled his initial conversations with Triple H when he first got called up from NXT. "When I came back, I already knew how much Hunter believed in long-term storytelling," McIntyre began. "You could feel the direction was going to change with him behind the wheel. We had more freedom in matches, more time to connect with the audience, and that's something I've seen him double down on lately." Evolution under Triple H. The change McIntyre referred to was far from subtle. Many of the more cartoonish elements that had come to define WWE's style during Vince McMahon's later years were being reined in. The focus was shifting towards a grittier, more sports-oriented feel, and Triple H's influence was unmistakable. Gone were the days of short, inconsequential feuds with no real payoff. Wrestlers were now encouraged to tell their stories in the ring, often through matches that stretched beyond the typical time limits seen in previous years. There's definitely been a change in how we're asked to work. Hunter's background as an in-ring general makes him appreciate what we do between the ropes more than anyone else. I think you'll see a lot less of the quick matches just for the sake of it, McIntyre revealed. He values the art of wrestling and believes fans do too, and that's a huge difference compared to what we were used to. Less emphasis on comedy gimmicks. One of the most significant changes McIntyre noted was the reduced emphasis on comedy gimmicks and storylines that felt too outlandish to take seriously. Under Vince McMahon, WWE had seen its fair share of lighthearted characters, segments designed purely for laughs, and at times, matches that were more spectacle than sport. While such moments were entertaining to some, they often felt at odds with the gritty, hard-hitting action that many fans craved. "Don't get me wrong," McIntyre laughed. "There's always room for entertainment for larger-than-life characters. But I think we'll see a little less of the comedy for the sake of comedy. Triple H wants wrestling to be taken seriously again. You can see that with the way the matches are being structured now." The former champion pointed to recent examples, such as the shift in tone during the Raw and SmackDown brands. Feuds like Gunther's Intercontinental Championship run and Roman Reigns' ongoing dominance as Universal Champion were centered around the physicality of the sport and the pursuit of greatness, rather than slapstick humor. More opportunities for new talent. McIntyre also highlighted how Triple H's leadership had created more opportunities for younger stars to shine. The NXT system, which Triple H had built into a respected third brand, was now becoming a pipeline for fresh faces to enter the main roster, and they were being presented in a much more serious light. You look at guys like Braun Breaker, Ilja Dragunov, and even someone like Zoe Stark. They're coming in, and they're given the chance to really show what they can do, McIntyre said. Triple H sees potential in the next generation, and he's not going to waste it by putting them in goofy skits. They're being treated like stars from the moment they walk in, and that's something we didn't always see before. This change was personal for McIntyre. Having been released by WWE in 2014 and then reinventing himself on the independent circuit, he returned with a newfound intensity that fit Triple H's vision perfectly. He was one of the first to benefit from this new approach to character development and storytelling, becoming WWE champion during the pandemic era. "I was given the chance to show what I could do. And now you're seeing that across the board with these new faces. It's exciting." The future of WWE's presentation. Another aspect McIntyre touched on was the overall presentation of WWE programming. While Vince McMahon's WWE was known for its polished, larger-than-life production values, there had been a gradual shift toward a more grounded, raw aesthetic. "I think Hunter likes a more authentic feel," McIntyre mused. "You'll still get the big entrances, the pyro, and the spectacle, because that's part of what makes WWE special, but you're also getting more realism. The backstage segments feel less scripted, the promos are more natural. It feels like we're moving away from being overproduced, and that's refreshing." This move toward a more realistic presentation extended to how matches were booked. With longer, more physically intense bouts becoming the norm, McIntyre felt WWE was beginning to resemble the golden era of wrestling, where competition and athleticism were at the forefront. Challenges ahead. Despite the positive changes, McIntyre acknowledged that there were still challenges ahead. WWE's massive global audience was diverse, and catering to both die-hard wrestling fans and casual viewers was a delicate balancing act. "Not everyone is going to love every decision," he admitted. "There are fans who love the entertainment aspect, and you can't just ignore them. But I think what Hunter is doing is finding that balance. You can have the larger-than-life moments, but you also have to respect the intelligence of the audience and give them stories they can get invested in." A new era. As the interview came to a close, McIntyre's respect for Triple H's leadership was evident. He believed that WWE was entering a new era, one that honored the past while pushing the product forward in exciting ways. "I think we're in for something special," McIntyre said confidently. "Hunter understands the business, and he's not afraid to shake things up. If that means we see a little less of the goofy stuff and more of what makes wrestling great, I'm all for it." With Triple H at the helm, the WWE landscape was undoubtedly changing, and Drew McIntyre, along with the rest of the roster, was ready to embrace the future.